Good morning, friends. I welcome you all again to this YouTube channel, Dr. Vipul V Kapoor. Let's learn. Friends, in this lecture, we are going to discuss the general characteristics of English language. As we discussed earlier, language is dynamic by nature. And language keeps on changing from time to time. And English is not an exception in this regard. And English also keeps on changing from time to time. In our previous video, we discussed that the seeds of English language lie in 55 BC when Celts, C-E-L-T-S, Celts were living in England. Celts is the name of one community who lived in England in the 1st century BC. So from 1st century to the 5th century, that period you can say was the formation period as far as the origin of English language is concerned. We discussed in our previous videos that English language originated from these vast Germanic languages, vast Germanic dialects. And during the 5th century, Angles, Saxons and Jutes, these three communities came to live in England, and a mixture of these three dialects, gave birth to a new language which was known as Anglo-Saxon language, or it is also known as Old English language. So the English language, friends, that we are speaking in today's times was not the same English in those times. Okay, so the point is it kept on changing. The whole history of English language can be divided into three broad categories that we discussed in our previous lectures. These three broad categories in the development of English language are the Old English language, that is Anglo-Saxon English, that starts from the 5th century or 6th century, that continues till the 6th century, till the 11th century. In the 12th century, there was a Roman invasion, and so after 12th century onwards, till the period of Renaissance, 15th and 16th century, that period, 12th to 16th century of about 400 years, is known as the Middle English period. It was during this Middle English period that Geoffrey Chaucer, the first poet of English literature, he wrote the Canterbury Tales. And that Canterbury Tales is written in that Middle English period. From 16th century onwards, you have the third phase in the development of English language, and that is known as Modern English. Now again, this Modern English is divided into two different phases, early Modern English period and late Modern English period. The early Modern English period begins from 16th century till 18th century, and 18th century onwards till today's times, that period is known as late Modern English. So all in all, let's recollect the journey of English language begins from 55 BC, 1st century BC. The English language came into existence with Angles, Saxons and Jutes in the 5th century, Okay, so from 5th to 11th century, this was the first period, which is known as Anglo-Saxon English, okay, which is also known as Old English, the first period till 11th century. From 12th to 15th century, second period, it is known as Middle English. Your Beowulf was first written in this Old English language, in the Middle English language. From 16th century onwards, till 18th century, that period is known as the modern English language, and modern means early modern English language, and 18th century onwards till today's times, it is known as the late modern English, which we are speaking, which I am speaking right now, which you are speaking right now. Now, the question that we want to discuss in today's lecture is, the characteristics of English language. English as we see today was not the same English even 200 or 300 years ago. You will be surprised to know that even before 300 years from now, English was not an international language. English was not considered as a world language. But in today's times, after 300 years, after 200 years, all of a sudden, what happened that English became an international language? What happened that English became a world language? There might be some reasons behind that. So the question is, what are the reasons behind English becoming the world language, English becoming the international language? So if you want to find out an answer to this question, you need to see what kind of nature does this language have, or you need to find out what are the important characteristics of English language. Okay, so you can see here on the screen, there are some important characteristics of English language which I have presented here. The first important characteristic of English language is the heterogeneousness. What is heterogeneousness? That we will discuss later, but just let me give you some idea about the important characteristics that we are going to discuss. Okay, so the first one is the heterogeneousness or adaptability or receptiveness or assimilative power of English language. Second important characteristic of English language is simplicity of inflection. Third one is the fixed word order, and fourth one is the Parry phrases, use of Parry phrases in English language. Okay, the fifth one is the natural gender, and the sixth one is the intonation. So these are, you can say, the 6 characteristics of English language. Let's move ahead. The English language today is considered as the most vibrant and living languages, one of the most vibrant languages of the world. In fact, this is the language which only 4 centuries ago had been spoken by a very few communities. Okay, very few people spoke and used this language even before 3 or 4 centuries, right? So the question is, what made this language become so popular? Okay, now English language has almost attained an international standard, because on international level, people are using one common language in today's times, and that is English. Okay, the present standing of English is partly attributable to its establishment as a mother tongue outside England. English is not the mother tongue of England only. It is the mother tongue of United States of America also. It is also the mother tongue of Australia. Okay. It is also the mother tongue, or you can say native tongue. Native tongue in Canada, New Zealand, South Africa, and so many different countries.